Today I wanted to share my experience of the importance of personalizing your business interactions with customers, especially when those interactions are automated in any way, and hopefully share some techniques for how you can go about doing that. Now, back in 2020, in the middle of a lockdown-free period of the pandemic, I was sitting in a cafe where I happened to know the owner personally, and while I was there, they received a letter from the UK government with regards to the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. Now, this was a scheme where the government would cover 50% of all diners' costs in participating restaurants. When the owner opened up that letter, she made some comments to me and the staff who were working there about the fact that the greeting line of that letter just said, "Dear participant." That's it. It wasn't addressed to her personally, it wasn't even addressed to the name of the cafe itself. It just said, "Dear participant." The comment that was made rather sarcastically was, "Well, that's personal, isn't it?" Now, you could take that a couple of ways, and certainly the view that the UK government had slightly bigger things to worry about in the middle of the pandemic than personalising their mailing list is a valid one. But what struck me was the expectation of personalisation, and the fact that it wasn't there meant that there was this immediate distance between the sender and the recipient. I'd already spent the last few years working on automating business processes, and I knew that striking the balance between reducing employee time spent on repetitive administrative tasks and keeping that personal touch that only really human input can bring is a fine balance and a difficult line to walk. But even so, I was amazed at the negative reaction that was created. And when you think about it, nobody wants to be referred to as "dear participant." And even without personalising, they could have gone for "dear valued member." Now, that being said, this is really worth considering whether you're sending letters or emails via a campaign system like MailChimp or Constant Contact. According to McKinsey, personalisation can give you 5 to 8 times the return on investment that you would get in your marketing campaigns. Now, the outcomes that are bandied about are going to depend on the amount of money you have to spend in your budget and the tools and skills that you have at your disposal. But even so, I'd like to give you 3 pointers as to how you can go about personalising your business interactions with customers, especially when they're automated. First, you're going to want to make sure that you're capturing helpful data. Now, obviously there are data protection laws in place to limit the amount of data that you can collect on your customers. But that being said, if you're going to be of any help to your customers, then you're going to need some useful information in order to target them effectively. And one thing I always found useful particularly was approximate location. So for example, different states have different public holidays, and so you could run a marketing campaign in that one state on a particular day. Or if you're in the UK, you could run a campaign in Wales just on St. David's Day. That personalisation in itself can be powerful, and it kind of leads on to the second point, which is that you're going to want to think about which techniques are effective and appropriate for your audience. There's a phenomenon called the uncanny valley, which is the emotion we feel when something non-human tries to pass itself off as the real deal. You don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. You want them to feel connected. This is about engaging with your customers, not showing off what you can do in your fancy marketing software. Finally, once you've laid that groundwork, go through your copy and work out where it's going to be best to personalize it. And if you're doing the greeting, are you going to go for first name or last name, both or neither? How's it going to work if you're missing some content and you don't have their first name or you don't have their last name? What's your backup plan? Are there any parts of your copy, not just the greeting line, because that's pretty obvious, but are there any parts of your copy that you could personalize in a non-creepy, invasive way that will actually draw people's attention in to what you're writing to them? Now, I use these techniques primarily during the customer onboarding phase, and that's a time when these can be really effective during the first few weeks when you're first creating that connection between you and the person on the other side. It's a really great opportunity to build up rapport and not just trying to sell or upsell whatever it is that you are selling, but actually trying to build a connection and make sure that your brand is perceived the same way by the person receiving your communication as it exists in your head. But that's it for this time. Please hit like and subscribe if you found this content at all useful. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I link to different articles that I found useful myself. And let me know in the comments what techniques you've used for personalization, and if you've got any suggestions. I look forward to hearing from you there.